Welcome to the Mindset Mile podcast, the show that'll leave you empowered to take action towards becoming the turned up version of your already awesome self. I'm your host, Aisha Zaza, and I'm so glad you're here. Let's go. Happy Monday and welcome back to the Mindset Mile podcast. I hope that wherever you are, it's starting to feel like spring. Unless, of course, you're in the Southern Hemisphere. Shout out to my Australian and New Zealand listeners. Woot woot. You guys are heading into winter, which I'm sure is also a beautiful time of year. But being that it's mid-April and we're just a couple weeks into the second quarter of the year, I thought it would be helpful to reintroduce the topic of goals. Did you set any goals at the beginning of this year? And if you did, how are they going? By now, I'm sure you're probably not hearing the term New Year's resolutions anymore, right? Or goals, really. But I think now is a perfect time to look back on the first quarter of the year and take an inventory on where you are now in relation to some of the goals you may have set back in January. And if you're feeling caught red-handed right now, don't worry. You probably know by now that I believe it's never too late to get started or to get back in the saddle, because that is the absolute truth. Regardless of where you are or aren't in relation to some of your goals you set for the year, I want to address why you may not be where you wanted to be. And that might be largely due to the fact that you did not make a SMART goal. And no, this is not me calling your goals dumb. I'm talking about goals in terms of the acronym SMART. S-M-A-R-T. Specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-bound. Have you heard of SMART goals before? I want to go over it with you today because most people know how to spit out a goal into the universe, but most people don't know how to set goals very well, which is why they sometimes never reach them. A lot of times when people are prompted to set goals, what they actually end up doing is casting their dream job, dream house, dream life. And while I do believe it's great to have a vision for what you want your life to look like, you need to set mile markers on the way to it, or else these big, audacious dreams will always feel like just that, intangible, imaginary ideas. Consider SMART goals the blueprint for how you will get there. Starting with S, you need to make sure your goal is specific. Setting vague goals is a recipe to getting vague results. So we'll use running as an example, as you know I love to do. It's not going to serve you a whole lot to set a goal to just run more, because more is a relative term and it could mean very little, it could mean a lot. It's not specific. Instead, a specific goal would be to say, I'm going to run 4 days a week. Now you have something tangible to work with. M stands for measurable. Which metric will you use to give a baseline to your goal? Maybe it's that you want to be able to run a 5K with 8-minute miles. Now, because we have a distance and a goal time, you have something real to work towards instead of feeling like you're grabbing at water. A stands for attainable. This is an important one and where goals and dreams differ the most. I believe you have that dream in your heart for a reason, and it's made to stretch you beyond your comfortability. But I'd venture to say big life dreams are far out there. Not that they can't or won't become your reality one day, but when setting goals, you want to make sure that you're being stretched, but that you're working towards what is attainable. So while your big goal might be to run a marathon, but you don't ever run farther than a few miles currently, it'll serve you to make mini goals along the way to the big one. So for example, you could set a goal for completing your first 10K, and then after that, the next goal is to complete a half marathon. You're going to become a stronger runner along the way because of these goals, which will put running a marathon into much closer reach than it was if you sporadically ran a few miles at a time. Hey, really quick. As an avid runner, I'm always looking for running gear that meets the functional and stylish mark, which is why I don't wear any other running glasses besides Gooder. Gooder frames are so lightweight but snug. They never bounce or slip when I'm on a run, a hike, or just out and about running errands. I've been loving the Mach G aviators and OG styles as of late, but at $25 a pop, I keep a pair in my car, in my purse, and on the console table with my keys, so I'm never without some good eye protection. All Gooder Sunnies are 100% UV protective and polarized. They're seriously the best, and you need a pair. Use code MindsetMile to get 15% off your order. And when you order 2 or anything over $50, you'll also get free shipping. Check them out at gooder.com. That's GOODR.com and get 15% off when you use code MindsetMile. R stands for relevant. Are your goals relevant? Let's be honest. As an adult, life is busy. Between jobs, work, kids' sports, school activities if you have kids, holidays, workouts, errands, it's a juggling act. If you have a goal in mind that's really important to you, then you want to make sure that what you're doing and how you're spending your time supports that goal. While it may be useful for you personally to become a better speaker, spending 2 nights a week at a Toastmasters class might not be top priority in this season while you're training for your first Boston Marathon. Make sure how you are spending your time and energy is relevant. And lastly, T represents time bound. If I told you you had a year to prepare for a 10K, when do you think you'd start training for it? Most likely you would not be strapping on your shoes after this episode to head out the door. If I told you I registered you for a 10K in 8 weeks from now, where you'd win $100,000 for averaging an 8-minute mile, when do you think you'd start training? Yeah, probably yesterday. Someone once told me that no matter how much time you give yourself to do almost anything, you'll take the whole time to do it. I mean, think about that for a second. Isn't it true? You will take all the time you give yourself. So when you're setting a goal, you want to make sure there's a deadline because that is going to hold you accountable to work to stay on pace for that goal. So let's tie it all in together and produce a SMART goal based on our example. By November 1st, 2022, I want to complete a half marathon with an average pace of 9 minutes per mile. Is it specific? Yes. We didn't say, I want to run more by November 1st. The specific goal is to run a half marathon. Is it measurable? Yes. A half marathon is measurable distance as well as a 9-minute average mile pace. Is it attainable? Yes. Someone who is just getting into running now could very easily train for a half marathon and can likely complete 13.1 miles with a 9-minute average pace in 7 months. Is it relevant? If the big goal is to run a full marathon, then yes, running a half marathon along the way is relevant. And is it time-bound? Having a race date of November 1st gives this goal a sense of purpose and urgency. We've been taught to set goals our entire lives, but it's time to start setting them well. I hope you implement SMART goals every time you think about a new goal, and instead of feeling like you're grabbing at water, you now have a roadmap to them. If you found this helpful, please send it to a friend, and also be sure to tag me in your posts and stories on Instagram at Aisha Zaza. I love seeing what speaks to you. I'll catch you here next week, and until then, make it a great day.